10 extinct predators that couldn't survive today. Since the beginning of time, apex predators have roamed the lands, dominating every other species in its locale. From their cunning tactics to physical adaptations, these predators have evolved through the years to become some of the most efficient hunters on the planet. But what if I told you there are some prehistoric predators that couldn't hope to survive today? Let's take a look at 10 of these predators today. Number 10. Titanoboa. The Titanoboa was a gigantic, and by gigantic I mean a huge snake that lived around 60 million years ago, and it was a pretty impressive predator back in the day. But if it were around today, it's not likely that it would be able to survive for a few reasons. First off, the climate of the Earth has changed a lot since the time of the Titanoboa. It used to be much warmer and wetter, but nowadays it's cooler and drier. Secondly, there are a lot of other large predators around today that the Titanoboa would have to compete with for its food and habitat. There are crocodiles, anacondas, and other huge snakes that would all be vying for the same prey as the Titanoboa, since they were mainly piscivorous, which means they primarily ate large fish, and it's hard to say whether it would be able to hold its own against such formidable competition. Number 9. Sarcosuchus. Next up is the Sarcosuchus. This giant reptile was dubbed the Super Croc, which should clearly give you an idea of its size. Although not technically a crocodile, the Sarcosuchus was its distant cousin, the main difference being their size. It was an imposing 40 feet long, 12.1 meters, 10-ton reptile with crocodile-like features. If we're talking about why they wouldn't be able to survive in today's world, it boils down to one main reason. The Sarcosuchus was a carnivorous predator that likely fed on large prey such as dinosaurs and other reptiles. Yep, you heard that right. However, these prey species are obviously no longer around today, which means that the Sarcosuchus would have to adapt to new food sources. It's honestly unclear whether the Sarcosuchus would be able to survive on smaller prey, which might not provide enough nutrition for such a large animal. Number 8. Megalodon. On the 8th spot we have the Megalodon. This is an extinct species of shark that lived millions of years ago during the Cenozoic era in warm water regions. It was one of the largest predators to ever swim in the oceans, with estimates suggesting it could grow to an insane 60 feet in length, 18.3 meters. Speaking of its eating habits, that would exactly be the reason it wouldn't be able to survive today. When an ecosystem collapses, the first animals to go are the ones on the top of the food chain. The Megalodon, being an apex predator, would be particularly vulnerable in this scenario. Let me explain. So, when the Ice Age cycles were triggered during the cooling in the Pliocene, ice sheets caused water to become locked up at the poles, causing a substantial drop in global sea levels. This meant near-shore Megalodon nursing areas were lost. All of these events caused a major disruption for whales and sharks. Whales, which were Megalodon's main source of food, became extinct, and the few whales that survived adapted and started migrating into cooler, more nutrient-rich waters where Megalodon could not go. Number 7. Terror bird. Up next, let's talk about the terror bird. I know, that's a pretty scary name. Well, the terror bird was a group of big, bad, flightless birds that used to live in South America around 60 million years ago. They were up to 10 feet tall, 3.06 meters, had strong legs and sharp beaks, and loved to chow down on their prey. But if we have to discuss why they wouldn't be able to survive today, the main reason has to be food availability. The terror bird was a specialized predator that relied on very specific prey, large herbivores like ground sloths and horses. In the modern world, there are far fewer large herbivores like these for the terror bird to hunt, and many of its preferred prey species have gone extinct. Number 6. Griffinfly. Switching things up a little bit, let's talk about a prehistoric insect predator. The Meganeura dragonfly, also known as the Griffinfly, lived during the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago. It was one of the largest insects ever known, with a wingspan of up to 75 centimeters, 30 inches. For an insect, that's absurd, considering that's the size of a modern-day eagle. So let's talk about why it wouldn't be able to survive today. First of all, the Meganeura was able to grow so big because the Earth's atmosphere had more oxygen back then, while the oxygen level nowadays is around 21%. Back then, it was 35%. So the Meganeura would have a hard time growing and surviving. Also, it's hard to forget that if the Meganeura existed today, it would have to compete with a bunch of other predators like birds and bats. Number 5. Sabretooth Tiger. We're halfway through, so let's talk about the Sabretooth Tiger. Smilodon was a really cool predator that lived a long time ago, about 2.5 million to 10,000 years ago. It had these crazy long curved teeth that could be up to 7 inches long, 17 centimeters, and used them to take down big animals like bison and horses. It would struggle to find enough food since many of its favorite meals are extinct. Plus, it would have to compete with other predators like lions and tigers, who are more flexible and adaptable to the current ecosystem. To make matters worse, the changing climate and human activities would make it even harder for the saber-toothed tiger to survive. Basically, the world is just too different from what it used to be when the saber-toothed tiger was around. Number 4. Arctodus. On the number 4 spot, we have the Arctodus, also known as the short-faced bear. This was one big and tough bear that used to roam North America a long time ago. The Arctodus was a huge bear that stood over 6 feet, 1.8 meters tall at the shoulder, and weighed up to a whopping 2,500 pounds, 1,133 kilograms. It had a unique short snout that made it look kind of like a dog, but it actually helped it bite bigger and better than modern-day bears. As fearsome as the Arctodus was, it probably wouldn't make it in the world today. That's because it used to eat large animals like bison and elk, which are now a lot less common because of humans and habitat loss. Number 3. Dire wolf. Only 3 left now, so let's talk about the dire wolf. The dire wolf was a big, scary predator that once roamed North America during the Ice Age. It was a real badass, with sharp teeth and jaws strong enough to take down animals like buffalo. For starters, the dire wolf would face some serious competition from modern predators like coyotes and wolves, which have adapted better to the current environment. It's as simple as that. On top of that, the dire wolf's food sources, such as bison and elk, are now a lot harder to come by due to hunting. Oh yeah, humans have also played a part in the decline of many large mammal species, including the dire wolf. With all these factors working against it, it's unlikely the dire wolf would be able to survive and thrive in today's world. Number 2. Gigantopithecus. Next up, we have a familiar face, the massive ape known as the Gigantopithecus. This ape roamed around Asia about 1 to 5 million years ago. This big guy was the largest primate to ever exist, standing as tall as 10 feet, 3 meters, and weighing up to 1,200 pounds, 544 kilograms. Unfortunately, there isn't a ton of information about this colossal creature, since only a few fossil remains have been found. Despite its impressive stature, Gigantopithecus went extinct around 100,000 years ago, and nobody knows for sure why. But if we had to talk about whether they'd be able to survive today or not, The answer is a definite no. Let me explain. Gigantopithecus lived in a time when there were lots of forests around to provide them with plenty of food. But now, humans have gone and chopped down a bunch of those forests. Plus, Gigantopithecus needed a ton of vegetation to fuel its hulking body. And as if that wasn't enough, modern humans have a history of hunting and killing big animals, so Gigantopithecus would likely be a target for poachers and trophy hunters if it were still around today. Number 1. Tyrannosaurus Rex. And finally, we have the big bad T-Rex. The Tyrannosaurus Rex, or T-Rex for short, was a massive carnivorous dinosaur that lived during the late Cretaceous period, about 68 to 66 million years ago. It is one of the most well-known and iconic dinosaurs, with its large head, powerful jaws, and sharp serrated teeth. The T-Rex was one of the largest land predators that ever existed, measuring up to 40 feet long, 12 meters, and weighing up to 8 tons. The T-Rex was a fierce predator that likely hunted other large dinosaurs, such as Triceratops and Hadrosaurs. Well, unfortunately, it wouldn't be able to survive in today's world. First of all, the T-Rex lived during the late Cretaceous period, which had a different climate and environment than today's world. Secondly, the T-Rex needed a lot of food to survive because it was a huge predator. It would eat other dinosaurs and animals that are no longer around today. The closest second to those big dinosaurs would be elephants, but thanks to poaching, the elephant population is already dwindling. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date on videos like this. See you next time!